All right, inshallah. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين اللهم لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما علمتنا وزدنا علما اللهم لا سهل إلا ما جعلته سهلا وأنت تجعل الحزن إذا شئت سهلا اللهم فقهنا في دينك وارزقنا العمل بما نتعلم واجعل ما نقوم به خالصا لوجهك وتقبله منا يا رب العالمين. Can everyone online hear me? Yeah. Okay. Moving on, inshallah. All right. What is today's tip of seeking knowledge or being a better Muslim? I think we're out of tips for seeking knowledge. Anything, Ismail? How to be a better Muslim?
Yes, practical things. That's probably one of the most powerful tips I've heard.
Elaborate.
Okay, you can read in this hadith and ayahs lectures about things you can do and how to be a good Muslim, but you have to actually do it. So charity, you can go personally feed people or go visit people in the hospital or something like this, come to an actual class. So the dean's very practical in that theory.
Okay, so to increase your practicality, to increase practical deeds. All right, it's a good thing. All right, Jazakallah khair. All right, moving on, inshallah. Today, inshallah, we'll cover the Eid prayers and the Janazah prayer. But before that, something I forgot to mention last class about the traveler. We mentioned that a traveler is allowed to shorten and combine. And you mentioned there are other people who are allowed to combine. As for shortening, it's only allowed for a traveler to shorten. But when it comes to combining, there are people besides a traveler who is allowed to combine their prayer. Like?
Rain.
Salman? Like rain, sick, and so on and so forth. So the Prophet ﷺ used to combine when he used to rain and when and for sickness and for any other urgent reason. The Prophet ﷺ used to combine his prayers. We forgot to talk about the issue of combining due to rain, and it would have helped a lot if we knew this before the hurricane hit. So when it comes to rain, we're allowed to combine Maghrib and Isha only. The first condition of combining is when it comes to rain, it's only allowed for Maghrib and Isha. You're not allowed to combine Dhuhr and Asr for rain. You're only allowed to combine Maghrib and Isha, right? Because it's usually dark at that time, and so on, and that is makes it difficult to pray on time at that during that time. But when it comes to Dhuhr and Asr, the Hanbali school of thought, which we're currently studying, it doesn't allow it. The Shafi school of thought allows it. They say you're allowed to combine for Dhuhr and Asr just the way it would be difficult for you to pray when it's dark. It would be difficult for you to pray when there's light. The issue is not the darkness. The issue is the water and the difficulty to go out and pray. So that is the first condition. Secondly, what amount of rain does it need? What amount of rain needs to happen or occur for you to be allowed to combine? They say anything that will make your clothes wet and will make it difficult for you to walk to the masjid. That's a criteria for you that that you're allowed to combine during prayers. Meaning, if it's just a light sprinkle, it's not heavy rain. You can easily walk outside. You can enjoy the walk. You can walk without it being too difficult for you. Then you're not allowed to. You're not allowed to combine for that kind of rain. The default is that you're not allowed to combine until you can certainly establish the reason to combine. Was that clear? So if you're confused whether it's enough rain, whether it should combine or not, what do? You go back to the default, which is that you cannot combine. Okay. What if someone is not going to the masjid? Is he allowed to combine?
Yes.
Whether you say yes or no, you have to give your reason.
No, because there's no difficulty.
Okay. Good reason. Yes.
Because it's the same thing. Like they pray at home. So if it's raining and they want to pray at the masjid, they have to, and it's raining.
So okay, let's say you're home. You can make it to the masjid, but you'll need an umbrella and you'll need to get in your car, right? You have the option to go to the masjid and you have the option to stay home. It's not like it's impossible to go to the masjid. You can go to the masjid. But you have to just be careful and not get wet. Are you allowed to combine at home?
No.
No. Anyone else disagree? Yes.
So, me studying math, you learn how to prove and disprove things.
Okay.
So, one thing I'm thinking, particularly in the old days without clocks and things, when it's cloudy, you can't tell when it's Isha or Asr,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
So how would you be able to know it's time for Asr and Dhuhr and things like that, right?
We're talking Maghrib and Isha. Let's talk about Maghrib and Isha.
So you can't tell it,
You can't tell if the sun has set or not properly.
yeah, and you can't tell if the red is running away in the sky if it's Isha too.
I never thought about that. That's a very good point.
Could though, right? Because it's gonna get pitch black at some point. It's not like it's pitch black the whole day. It's cloudy, but pitch black is different from like if you're making that argument for Zuhur and Asr, that's a different case.
Yeah.
But it's Maghrib and Isha, right? So at that point, it's getting darker. We've already established that okay, perhaps now it's time to pray Maghrib. But then for Isha, it's like it's already pitch black.
Have you ever seen when it's like a thunderstorm is even during Dhuhr time, it almost looks like Isha. So it's hard to tell using the sun for 5 prayers.
What time does Isha start?
When last prayer of light was waiting.
Okay. If it gets really gloomy and cloudy around Maghrib time, how would you tell if the sun ray is gone or not?
I would wait until it's pitch black.
Okay, but how would you know if the time of prayer has begun or not? Yeah, that's what he's trying to say, I think. Yeah. So okay, and that's a good point. I never thought about that. So in the Hanbali madhab, anyone can combine, whether it's men or women. Even women at home, they're allowed to combine during the rain for Maghrib and Isha. Even though they're not going to the masjid, even someone who's not going to the masjid, whether it's man or woman, they're allowed to combine at home. This is the concession for the purpose of rain. Just the way when you travel, you're allowed to combine regardless whether it's difficult for you to pray on time or not. Similarly, when it rains enough to the point where your clothes will get wet if you leave the house, then you're allowed to combine Maghrib and Isha. But you're not allowed to shorten them. You're allowed to combine them. Yes, friend.
So if the man wasn't intending to pray the Jama'ah, for the Hanbalis, that would be sinful but not
Invalid. Yeah.
But as far as it being haram, would that not like remove the option for the rukhsah?
No. Because the Jama'ah has nothing to do with him combining.
Okay.
Okay. That's a good point. But it doesn't work here. Okay. That's the first reason when it comes to weather circumstances and similar stuff. The second is if it's post rain. If it's pretty flooded or there are a lot of puddles on the way where a person can't walk to the masjid without getting wet, without walking in puddles of water where it's gonna get his clothes wet, it's gonna get his shoes wet, and so on and so forth. He's allowed to also combine for that reason. He's also allowed to combine for that reason. The third reason is if it is a very windy and cold night. It has to fulfill these two conditions. A windy and cold night, meaning the weather is extremely cold and it's very windy. That's also a reason for you to combine Maghrib and Isha for. When it comes to snow or hail, the scholars include that with rain. So when if hail is falling or it's snowing, can you say it's hailing? Okay, it's hailing. If it's hailing and if it's snowing, then you're allowed to combine as well. But just for the fact that the weather is cold, you're not allowed to combine. So sometimes, like during December, there's what's it called, not the cold wave. What's it called? The cold front. When we had a cold front and we had a few days of extreme cold weather, just for the sake of the cold weather, you're not allowed to combine. But if it was if it was combined with a strong wind, then you're allowed to combine, right? So you will find masajid that will combine during the cold weather. I don't know of any of the 4 schools that allow combining because of cold weather. Already the first two schools, the Malik and Hanafi, don't allow combining for any of these reasons. They only allow Malik is allowed for travel. Hanafis don't allow combining at all. There's only the Shafi'is and the Hanbalis who allow combining for weather circumstances. And from the weather circumstances, only the Hanbalis allow, or sorry, the Shafi'is allowed for Dhuhr and Asr, and Hanbalis allowed for Maghrib and Isha. I don't even think the Shafi'is allowed for rain in general. So it's only the Hanbalis who allowed for when it comes to rain. Frank, do you know?
I can check.
Okay, check. From what I remember, they don't, but you can confirm. So it's a very narrow concession that we have in this regard. If it's too cold, you can pray at home. You can pray at home, no problem. But when it's but combining needs a specific permission. Yes.
If there's examples of the Prophet combining, what is the proof against combining? Or is it just that the narrations that mention the Prophet combining are weaker and they're not accepted by the other schools?
I don't know. I'll have to look into it. I can't remember. Any questions about this? Yes.
When my sheikh told me in Jordan, in winter, they always combine, that the people are used to that. But the shiuk don't like that, but if the sheikh doesn't combine this a lot, the people get angry at him.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. So is it snowing or not?
it's in Jordan, I mean, 40, 50 degrees, 30 degrees.
Yeah. I don't know. In the Hanbali school of thought, you're not allowed. The Hanbali schools of thought, Hanbalis allow you to combine for rain, for hail, for snow, for a very, very windy, cold night. Just cold, they haven't mentioned it. So I don't
I
know.
think he was explaining they're just really lazy. They try to force green, just combine this with you.
Yeah. Yeah. Another thing is, I forgot to mention, we mentioned 2 conditions. The first is that the Hanbalis only allowed for Maghrib and Isha. Second is that if it's raining, it should be enough to get your clothes wet or your good clothes wet. Or if it's a lot of it's flooded or there are puddles outside, or it's a strong windy night, cold windy night, or if it's snowing or hailing. All of these have to happen before the first prayer. So if you pray Dhuhr, you pray Maghrib, for example. Pray Maghrib, there's no rain at all. When you finish praying Maghrib, it starts to rain, you cannot combine. The concession, or the reason for the concession, has to occur from the beginning of the first prayer, from before the first prayer till the beginning of the second prayer. So the opposite would be that it's raining during the first prayer, right? And you have the intention to combine. You pray Maghrib, as you're finishing Maghrib, it stops raining. You can no longer combine. It has to continue till the beginning of the second prayer. Was that clear?
It's confusing because how would you know if it's gonna continue against prayer when you're done with praying, it's still rain?
Repeat that.
How would you know if the rain, heavy rain, heavy
Yeah.
whatever
Yeah.
situation?
Yeah. You just look out the window. If it's continuing, you combine. If it's not, you
Okay,
go home.
so at the end of the second.
Yes.
First prayer.
Yeah.
it's not continuing.
Yes, you combine. Yeah.
Do it in an expectation of heavy rain.
No.
So like even if there's a thunderstorm that's like about to hit.
Pray home.
Okay, because I remember not the hurricane but the tornado like a month or so ago when that came through, they combined Maghrib and Isha here. And it was no longer raining and it didn't rain later that day.
Yeah.
So there wasn't any rain,
Yeah.
but there was like damage from.
Yeah. According to Hanbali school of thought, that would not be allowed. One other thing I wanted to mention. You need to have the intention to combine before you establish the first prayer. And this is for all kinds of combination, whether you're combining for travel or rain or snow, whatever it may be, for sickness, whatever it may be. You need to have the intention before you pray your first prayer. So let's say You prayed and it was raining and you had no intention to combine, or you were traveling and you didn't have any intention to combine. You prayed Maghrib and then you were like, I might as well combine. No, you can't combine anymore. If you didn't have the intention before the first prayer that this prayer will be combined with the second prayer, then you're no longer allowed to combine. This is according to the Hanbali school of thought.
I found it in the chapter about the Musafir. It says, ويجوز ويجوز للحاضر في المطر أن يجمع بينهما في وقت الأولى من.
Okay. So sorry, they allowed for rain because they do it for Dhuhr and Asr too. I mixed it up. Yeah. Sorry. I just remember, yeah, they differ from the Hanbalis when they allow it for Dhuhr and Asr as well than the Maghrib and Isha. So Jazakallah khair. Yes. But do this Allah say mention anything about cold weather? Okay.
So when you combine prayers, generally, I would argue almost always you just pray them back to back.
Yeah.
Could you pray one prayer and then pray the other one like 20 minutes later?
20 minutes is too much. They say anything that's not a long gap, that you don't consider to be a long gap. So let's say you prayed and you just took a sip of water, answer some texts and then continue, no problem, right? But to have a long break, went for lunch and came back, then then you kind of lose out on it, right? You kind of lose out on it. Similarly with janazah, if janazah, especially when people go to Mecca and Medina and they're traveling that day and they want to combine their prayers before they leave, so you can pray Dhuhr, pray janazah, and then pray Asr, or you can pray Dhuhr, Asr, then pray janazah, quickly pray Asr after. So it's completely fine. Okay. Any other questions? All right, moving on, inshallah. We'll cover Eid prayers, inshallah, today. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has blessed us to enjoy and to celebrate two Eids. And there, on the top right, we have the communal obligation. There are two prayers that are considered to be communal obligations on the Muslims. One is Eid prayer and the other is Janazah. What is a communal obligation, Salman?
If some people do it, then some people don't.
Switch the word some with something else.
If somebody does it,
No, if enough people do
if
it.
enough people do
Yeah,
it,
so enough people do it. What's the difference between enough and some people?
a certain amount.
So everything will require different amount of people, right? Janazah might require more people. Eid prayer might require less people, so on and so forth, right? So if enough people establish it, then it becomes what? A sunnah for the rest. So it becomes a sunnah. The obligation is waived, but the recommendation stays, right? So the first is Eid prayers, and we have two Eids, right? There are Eid, Al-Adha and Eid Al-Fitr. One is Eid Al-Fitr, and one is Eid Al-Adha, 10th of the Hijjah, which is the major Hajj day. It's called Hajj al-Akbar. That's the day when the Hujjaj they return back to Mina after finishing Muzdalifah. And that's the day they get out of their ihram. So it's called al-Hajj al-Akbar. So these are two Eids, and each of these Eids, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has prescribed a prayer for that day. Inshallah, we'll cover the format and the process of the prayer, and we'll mention some differences between both, not the prayer itself, but some of the external issues pertaining these prayers. The first thing is that Eid al-Adha has to be established by residents, meaning the people who establish Eid prayer has to be done people from the city, and I'll explain more. The beginning of its time, it's from when the sun has risen to the height of a spear. That's when the first prohibited period of time ends. But the sun, when it has risen to the height of a spear, till Dhuhr, or right before the sun reaches its zenith. All of that is considered Duha time. All of that is also considered Eid prayer time. So Duha and Eid have the same exact timing. What is it better to pray early on or to delay it? When it comes to Eid al-Fitr, the scholars say you should delay it a little bit so that people can eat and then come. Because it's a sunnah for you to eat before you come to Eid al-Fitr prayer, the Ramadan Eid. It's sunnah for you to eat a little bit before you come for Eid prayer. But for Eid al-Adha, it's better for you to hasten the prayer because it's a sunnah for you to not eat anything before you pray Eid al-Adha, and the first thing you eat is your sacrifice. The first thing you eat is sacrifice. Now, this is for someone who is sacrificing, but those who are not sacrificing or the family members, this does not pertain them. This sunnah does not pertain them Huh?
Only the.
Only the dhabih. They say only the dhabih, or the one who's paying for the udhiyah, right? He should wait until after Eid and eat. This is all a sunnah issue, meaning if a person decides to eat, he needs to have some food in his system before he goes for Eid. It's okay for him to do so.
What if he's intending to slaughter on one of the days? Okay.
Then it's up to him if he wants to eat before that. He should be able to do that. Also, the Hanbalis, they make a condition that you need 40 people, just the way we had it in Jum'ah. That's why we talked about residents. That residents have to establish Eid prayer. And we'll talk about something interesting after this. Yes,
So does that mean it has to be 40 residents?
40 residents.
Traveler would.
No.
Do women add to that number?
No. Because the communal obligation is not on the woman. It's a sunnah for women to come out, right? Okay. The sunnahs to do before. Okay. The sunnahs to do before and after the Eid prayer. First is eating before Fitr, and after Adha, preparing, meaning wearing beautiful clothes and beautifying yourself before you come for Eid. To pray in an open area. It's a sunnah for you to not pray at the masjid. It's a sunnah. The Eid prayer should not be established at the masjid unless it's Makkah or Medina. In Makkah or Medina, yes. But besides that, it's always a sunnah to pray in an open area, in a field or anywhere that a lot of the community can come and pray at one place, because the whole purpose is to come and meet each other and to celebrate Eid with one another. So it's better for you to pray in an open field or an open place, as some cities do, as also we had in Houston, where people would go to either NRG or somewhere else where they would pray all together in one place. So that's a sunnah to do so. But if not, then praying at the masjid is not invalidating the prayer or haram in any way. Yes.
If there's not enough people for a Eid prayer, like let's say you need 40 and there's like 35,
Yeah.
and you're at home
Yeah.
and
You can pray
you're
either.
healthy.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you're able to go to the masjid, is it far to go to the masjid for Eid prayer?
It's a good question. Meaning they're establishing Eid prayer at the masjid?
Yeah, like there's not enough people.
Yeah, so we can always take the other opinion. This is one opinion. We can always take the other opinion and go with that and establish Eid prayer. Right? Make sense? So there are multiple opinions. One of the opinions say that you need 40 people. Another opinion says that 3 people are enough.
So you could just stay home,
We can go. You can go and pray.
but it's not like far to go.
It's communal obligation. So you need enough people to go.
Wait, no, but Sheikh, with this opinion, if you follow the.
Oh yeah, okay. So you're saying if you follow the Hanbali opinion and there are like 10 people at the masjid praying, do you have to go? No, you don't have to go. You don't have to go.
Wait, if it's fard kifaya and let's say there's 40 people, only 35 are there, wouldn't it be wajib for those?
Yes.
to
Oh
go?
yes. Then it would be.
Okay.
Then it would be. But I'm assuming he's saying there are not 40 people in the city.
Okay.
Okay, let's break it down to through scenarios. You have more than 40 physically able people to go for Eid. You have more than 40 people. In that scenario, everyone has to go. All 40 of them have to go. Scenario 2, there are only 20 Muslims in the city. You have a point? And
Like Houston.
in Houston, you'll have more than 40 people.
At least
Yeah.
at least 41.
Okay, you have 400,000 people.
Definitely.
Make sense?
What if it's like a small masjid where there is only like 30 regular people who go there?
Then go to another masjid. Yeah. I just want you to understand the concept. When it comes to reality, you can always navigate through that, right? Okay. We talked about going early is a sunnah, being there as soon as possible and doing the takbir with everyone, reading Surah Al-A'la and Surah Al-Ghashiyah in the first and on the only 2 rakahs of the prayer. And inshallah, we'll cover how the prayer is done. 2 khutbahs are after the prayer, and it's sunnah to do 2 and not 1. 2 khutbahs are done after the prayer. 1 second, let me make sure. Oh, this is janazah. Okay. 2 khutbahs after the extra takbirat. I'll go over the process in a bit. The extra takbirat, 6 in the first rakah and 5 in the second. The last sunnah is taking 2 paths. Okay. The Eid prayer is done as the following. You say Allahu Akbar, raise your hands. Then after that, you read the dua al-istiftah. Subhanak Allahumma bihamdik wa tabarak asmuka wa ta'ala jadduka wa la ilaha ghayruk. Then you say A'udhu billahi minash shaitan rajim. Then you add 6 more takbirs. You add 6 more takbirs. There's a big difference of opinion about how many takbirs you need to do. Hanbali school of thought says 6. 6 after you do your initial takbir, meaning with your initial takbir, it is 7. After you do 6 takbirs, between each takbir, it is a sunnah to do a dhikr. To say Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, or to say Allahu Akbar kabira, walhamdulillah kathira, wa subhanallahi bukratan wa asila, to say some dhikr. But if a person can't, it's fine. Right? These extra 6 takbirs are after the takbir al-ihram, the initial takbir, are considered sunnah takbirs. Meaning if a person doesn't do them, and he says Allahu Akbar and Bismillah ar-Rahman alhamdulillah rabbil alameen starts, no problem. His prayer is still valid. It's a sunnah to add the 6 extra takbirs. Make sense?
You're gonna throw a lot of people off.
Yeah, of course, of course. I usually explain the prayer before I pray. Then you read Surah Al-Fatiha, and then it's a sunnah to read another surah, specifically Surah Al-A'la, Sabbih isma rabbika al-A'la. Then you continue prayer, ruku', you get up from ruku', 2 sajdas, then you get up. Once you get up, you don't say anything. It's not like the first rakah where you say A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajeem again. No, you immediately say Allahu Akbar 5 more times. So including the takbir to stand up, it will be 6. So after you do the takbir intiqal, the transitioning to takbir, it is 5 more takbir. And then you read Fatiha, another surah, Surah Al-Ghashiyah, and you finish your prayer as normal. You finish your prayer as normal. Okay? Was that clear? Okay. Yes. Oh, we have a question? Oh. Okay.
The intention of saying the 6th or the 5th takbirah, but you forgot.
It's fine.
Do sajda sahwi.
No. It's a sunnah in general, so there's nothing to make up for. Sajda sahwi is usually for either obligations or pillars, right? So if it's something mandatory, you make sajda sahwi for it. But if it's not mandatory, there's no sajda sahwi.
That's Eid. I wasn't there, but some Muslims said the Imam, whoever it was a young guy, was a fourth prayer they did. He said he was going to do 5 takbirah, but he forgot, so he did.
No problem. No problem. Sajda sahwi, if he did it after the prayer, also no problem. No problem. Inshallah, next class we'll talk about all the sajda sahwis, inshallah. Yeah,
What if
that's a way to finish the thing.
it's like forget how many takbirats you've done?
Then you go with the lower number.
What if you have no idea?
If you have no idea, have no idea. Oh, you have no idea how many you did at all? That's impossible. You know, at least you did 1 or 2. You'll have some idea how the minimum amount of takbir you've done, and you can always go less if you want to stay safe. No problem. I do that. So in Hanbali madhab, you're allowed to count through move your fingers while counting something in prayer. So when it comes to, especially like Surah Al-Kafirun, it's 6 verses, right? So to not mix up, I always do that. When I'm reading Surah Al-Kafirun, I'll go, قُلْ يَا أَيُّهَا الْكَافِرُونَ لَا أَعْبُدُ مَا تَعْبُدُونَ وَلَا أَنْتُمْ عَابِدُونَ, to the end of, I know it's 6 ayat, so it's easier for me to keep track. Same with takbirat. I'll do the takbir, I'll say, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. 6 takbir. I've kept track. I've not confused anyone at the same time. Okay.
You still do that for Surah Kafir?
I still do that. Surah Al-Kafir.
Your weight has.
I know, but I still do that. Because it just if I don't, then I'll get confused, and I don't want to panic when I'm there. Yeah.
It's one that everyone knows.
Yeah. Yes, Salman.
So
Sorry, Musa.
switch to
Salman. He's Musa, right? Yeah. Sorry,
Yeah.
Musa. Sorry.
For the
Keep on messing up.
on the screen, the 6 in the first rakah means 6 after the,
Yes.
and there's 5 in the second rakah.
5 after the transitioning.
So when you get up,
There's 5 total in the second rakah.
Not 6 total.
No. That's how it depends on how you count it. So if you're in sujood and you're saying Allahu Akbar to get up, right?
Yeah.
I'm not getting convincing yes.
You're not counting that as one.
When you're in sajda, in the first rakah, second sajda, what's the next step? Get up, right? That Allahu Akbar, you don't count that. After that, 5, right? Okay, question for you guys. Someone joined the prayer in the second rakah. What does he do?
When
Obvious answer is to second rakah. As soon as the Imam said Allahu Akbar, got up, he joined. Okay. He has to make up 1 more rakah, obviously.
And pray it like how you would pray the first.
First rakah or second rakah?
if he's Hanbali, he's gonna pray like the first one.
The first rak'ah. So we don't say, we say the second rak'ah that he joined with the imam was his second rak'ah as well. And when he finishes, he's going to pray the first rak'ah again. Yeah. So they say there's a famous issue is that do you continue or do you make up for what you have missed? If you say you continue, meaning your rak'ah with the imam was the first rak'ah, and then when you finished, you pray the second rak'ah for yourself, and that has many implications in many other chapters. So we'll cover that in janazah. We'll cover that in even regular prayers. It has an implication, an application there. Sorry, an implication, application, right?
Yes,
Application.
Word.
Both work. Okay. Okay. What if someone missed the entire Eid prayer? What does he do?
Go home.
If he goes home, can he pray at home? They
No.
say yes, you can pray at home. You can pray at home. You can pray you have to pray the same way it is prescribed for you to pray. And it's interesting that you can't pray it before the eighth prayer is established because you don't have 40 people. But if you missed out on the prayer, then you're allowed to make up for that at home.
So you can't pray beforehand.
Beforehand, if you don't have 40 people,
So you missed it.
you missed it, then you can pray, you make it up for that.
Oh shit, makes sense.
By yourself?
As a contemporary
yourself.
question.
Yes.
In the United States, where they have multiple Eid prayers in the same masjid, would you have to have missed all of them to pray by yourself at home, or
Mhm.
just the first one?
It's a very good question. I'd say you should have missed all of them.
Would it be similar with like Jumu'ah and Dhuhr?
What do you mean?
Because
Like sometimes are much later than others.
Yeah. There's no first dhuhr.
sorry, I know like first Jumu'ah.
Yes. So there's the whole concept of more than one Jum'ah is an exception, right? The default is you don't have more than one Jum'ah at one masjid.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
So like if you're saying like if you're of the opinion that only the first Jumu'ah is like valid,
Yeah. No, both Jum'ah should be valid, inshallah, as an exception.
It's not possible to follow that at the.
Yeah.
Fire marshal's gonna shut down every masjid. We say only one Jummah.
well, you can pray outside.
They'll shut that down too.
Yeah. So it's if we talked purely technically, I don't even think some madhabs allow more than one Jum'ah. Right. So we're taking another opinion when it comes to this issue.
Do you know how they support it? Oh, well, it's not really a topical question, I'll ask it.
I forgot. There's something to it. I just can't remember. Any questions about Eid prayers?
How does the Eid prayer fit into the day for the Hajj?
So he celebrates Eid, but he doesn't pray Eid prayer because he is busy with doing his Hajj rituals, right? He's doing his Hajj ibadah. So he does celebrate Eid, but he's not going to pray Eid prayer because he's busy with his Hajj. I don't know if he's allowed to pray Eid prayer or not. I forgot.
But the people of Mecca still have to establish
Yes.
prayer.
Yes.
Okay.
So they just wouldn't go to pray in the Haram.
They could go to the Haram. They could
I'm asking the ritual of Hajj are for that day.
after this, inshallah, we'll cover Hajj.
Wait, I'm thinking of it from a logistical standpoint.
Yeah.
You said for everywhere except for the Haramain, it's sunnah to establish the Eid prayer in like an open field.
Mhm.
But in the Haramain, you should pray it in Masjid al-Nabawi and like
Yeah.
Masjid al-Haram.
Yeah.
So, like, if you're one of the people on Hajj, like,
Yeah.
wouldn't it be like right there?
Yeah. But they're not gonna make it to the masjid until it's like at least 2-3 hours after sunrise.
Okay.
Because you leave Muzdalifah after sunrise. You stay in Muzdalifah till Fajr. After Fajr, you wait till sunrise, then you leave. Then the first thing you do is you go and you stone the biggest Jamara, the only one Jamara on that day. The rest of the days you do all three. So once you're done with that, By the time you're done with that, it's like 9, 10 a.m.
When you say sunrise, is it the end of the impermissible time to pray, or like as soon as you can see the sun?
No permissible time to pray. So they say shuruq as soon as
Okay.
so by the time you start walking, it takes 10, 15 minutes anyways. Yeah. Okay, yeah. But yeah, the Hujjaj, they don't pray, so they do celebrate Eid, but they don't pray Eid prayer. When it comes to the khutbahs, it's a sunnah that you start your khutbahs by also doing takbir. By saying Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. You say 9 times in the first khutbah and 7 times in the second khutbah. 9 in the first and second and 7 second. So if you memorize 65 and 97. 65 and 97 will give you an idea of how many takbirs to do in the prayer and also how many takbirs to do in the khutbah. All these takbirs are sunnah takbirs. None of them are mandatory takbirs. Any questions about the 8 prayers? Okay, let's quickly go over janazah. And inshallah, we'll end with janazah. Janazah is also a communal obligation, is a way we kind of bid our farewell to the person who has passed away. They say that when a person is born, a baby is born, you give adhan in its ear and you end his life with a prayer. So it's as if his whole life he's between an adhan and a prayer. It's a communal obligation for the whole thing in terms of washing the body, praying on the body, praying on the janazah, and also burying the body. All of that is considered a communal obligation. It's considered a wajib on all the Muslims who are able to do so to fulfill that duty and the right of their brother. When it comes to janazah prayer, the janazah prayer has 4 takbirat. So inshallah, we'll go over the pillars and we'll explain it. Standing up when you pray, 4 takbirat. After the first takbir, you recite Surah Al-Fatiha. After the second takbir, you send salams on the Prophet ﷺ the same way you do at the end of the prayer. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala ali Muhammad kama sallaita ala Hanbalis go with the version ala ali Ibrahim, not Ibrahim wa ala ali Ibrahim. They say Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala ali Muhammad kama sallaita ala ali Ibrahim innaka Hamidum Majid. They say this narration is the strongest narration. Ala ali Ibrahim innaka Hamidum Majid. Sorry, before Fatiha, do you recite the istiftah subhanakallahumma hamdik? No, you don't. So you say Allahu Akbar. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, alhamdulillah rabbil alameen. You don't say subhanakallahumma hamdik wa tabarak ismuka wa ta'ala jadduka wa la ilaha ghayru.
So start with the ta'id.
For basmala. You could also do a'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Yeah, isti'adha.
Oh, that's what it is.
Oh, yeah. Then after the third takbir, there is a prescribed dua, which is Allahumma ighfir li hayyina wa mayyitina wa shahidina wa ghaibina wa saghirina wa kabirina wa dhakarina wa unthana. Allahumma anta ta'lamu munqalabana wa thwana wa anta ala kulli shay'in qadir. Allahumma man ahyaytahu minna فأحيي على الإسلام والسنة ومن توفيته منا فتوفه عليهما اللهم اغفر له وارحمه وعافه واعف عنه وأكرم نزله ووسع مدخله واغسله بالماء والثلج والبرد ونقه من الذنوب والخطايا كما ينقى الثوب الأبيض من الدنس وابدله دارا خيرا من داره وزوجا خيرا من زوجه اللهم افتح له في قبره ونور له فيه. The reason I memorize this dua very well is because in middle school, my teacher had threatened us to pinch us really bad under our arms if we did not memorize it. So everyone was shivering and we all memorized it. And since that time, huh? No, it's not a mushaf. It's not the
No,
mushaf.
I'm saying like.
1/3,
Okay.
1/3, one fourth.
That's a longer dua. I've always heard a much shorter version.
Yeah, so this is the version for adults. For children, there's a little bit more, a slight difference in the ending. Slight difference in the end. So yeah.
What do you mean for children?
So you make an extra dua for children or different dua for the children in the end in terms of may Allah,
Children pass away.
if children pass, sorry, I forgot to clear that. Yeah, if children pass away, so you kind of make dua for their parents as well. So yeah, I memorized this 20 years ago. Yeah, I haven't forgotten it. My teacher passed away. Allah yarhamhu. Yeah, but he gets a reward for all of this. So yes, memorize the dua. Janazas happen very frequently at Faruq. So if you're frequent prayer at Masjid Faruq, memorize dua. It's always good to know. But if you don't know the dua, you can always make general dua like forgiveness and mercy and rahmah and in Jannah and so on and so forth. Then you do taslim. Then you give salams. The Hanbalis say you only give one salam. You don't give two salams. You only give one salam. And the Hanbalis, by default, they obligate and mandate two salams for everything except for in three scenarios. One is janazah. The other is sajda tilawa, when you come across a sajda ayah in the Quran and you say Allahu Akbar, you go into sujood, you come back up, you give one salam. And sajda al-shukr, the sajda for thankfulness or gratitude. Something beautiful happens in your life. You want to do sajda, you say Allahu Akbar, go into sujood, then one salam. So these are three scenarios where they say you only do one salam. Yes.
The second scenario, you're not in salah, right? You're just reading.
Outside salah, yeah.
So,
Yeah. Any questions about the prayer itself? Yes.
The dua for the deceased, can it be in a language other than Arabic?
If you don't speak Arabic, yes. If you don't speak Arabic. The default is you do it in Arabic. That's in general prayers as well. So even if in normal prayers, if you don't know Arabic, you're allowed to do dua in any other language.
That's only the non-obligatory parts, right?
Yeah. Non-obligatory. Like Fatiha, you got to learn in Arabic. You can't be like, I'll read the translation. No.
But also for like the wajibats, not.
Yeah. Any of the prescribed mandatory du'as, whether it's a pillar or an obligation, you got to do in Arabic. Extra du'as, you're allowed to do in English or Urdu if you can't speak Arabic. Yeah, no problem. Also, there's a big misconception that women can't go to the graveyard. There's no madhab that says that women can't go to the janazas or the graveyard. It's allowed for them to go to the graveyard, attend the burial. The only thing is that for men and women both is that they have to control their emotions and not say something that will be displeasing to Allah or disagreeing with the decree of Allah. Or shouting or screaming, and since women have a tougher time controlling their emotions, so the Prophet ﷺ has encouraged women to control their emotions a bit more, and that's the only thing. Yeah.
Is there any difference in the way that the bodies are wrapped?
Sorry.
Is there any difference in the way that the bodies are shrouded?
The whole janaza process is there's a sunnah way and then there's a minimum way. The minimum is that you have at least one cover around it.
Because I remember there a narration from where she had started a practice of like wrapping women in palm leaves, like over the kafan.
Yeah.
She hated the idea of people being able to see the shapes of women after they had died.
I'll have to look into it. Let me look into it. I know women are covered a bit more differently, and it's more they're covered more, but I can't remember the specifics. Yes.
Can you comment on what's from the Sunnah in terms of when sometimes we see that like it's Eid and some people make it a particular point that on Eid I'm going to go to the graveyard. What is from the Sunnah in terms
Okay. I'll comment 1 second. There's a question, Assalamualaikum. If we don't know the dua, you said which dua is in Arabic. You can say Allahumma ighfir lahu, Allahumma ighfir lahu, Allahumma ighfir lahu, Allahumma arhamhu, Allahumma arhamhu, Allahumma arhamhu, or whatever general dua is mercy. You want to make in Arabic or in English, or whatever language you speak. Your question was certain people make it a ritual to go to the qabristan, to go to the graveyard
particularly
on Eid day. Why?
Like you'll see sometimes people that when it's just like particularly on Eid, let's say they normally don't go to the graveyard, they'll say it's Eid and today I have to go to the graveyard.
So anything that you make a routine, a habit, you have to be careful to not make it a religious one. So if it's part of your logistical plan or a way for you to remind yourself, no problem. So let's say, a person says, every Jummah, after I pray Jummah, I'm going to go visit my parents. Is visiting your parents a sunnah? Yes, it's a sunnah to go visit your parents. But if a person says, I'm going after Jummah because it's a way for me to remind myself to go to my parents. So I know when I go to Jummah, after Jummah, I'm going straight to my parents. So it's a logistical thing. But if a person says, I believe there's a virtue in me visiting my parents after Jummah, then we say you might be falling into a bid'ah, right? Yeah, but if it's just a logistical thing, then alhamdulillah, no problem. Right? Alhamdulillah, no problem. Like even on 8 days, we go and we visit our friends or families, we exchange gifts. We don't think it as an ibadah in itself. We just think it's part of a courtesy, Eid, enjoying the day. Like wrapping gifts, for example. We don't think wrapping gifts in itself is like an ibadah. Ibadah is it's a courteous thing, right? Yeah. Okay. Any other questions?
On the right side where it says the position of the imam.
I'll come to that, inshallah. So the sunnahs are, where do you stand in terms of the body? The body is in front of you. Where do you stand? Where does the imam stand? You can stand anywhere, but the preferred place is when it comes to the man, you stand closer to the chest. And when it comes to the woman, you stay close to where her hip is or her waist is. Right? That's sunnah, to stand in the middle of her body and parallel to the man's chest when you are standing for janazah. The sunnah is also to raise your hands while you are doing the takbirat. So Allahu Akbar, Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen, Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim, Allahu Akbar, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad, Allahu Akbar, Allahumma aghfir li hayyina mayit, Allahu Akbar. Then you do your salam. It's a sunnah to have a small pause after the fourth takbir before you give your salam, but there's no dua prescribed on that. Some other madhabs say the sunnah to make dua for yourself at that time. But the Hanbali school of thought says there's nothing to do at that time. Or you say Allahu Akbar and you give it a 2 or 3 seconds and then you do your salams. Yes.
The how would you recite?
Yeah.
Out loud or to yourself?
To yourself. Yeah, none of this is out loud. Yeah, good question. Okay. Again, when it comes to missing something of janazah, let's say you came to the janazah after the third takbir, right? You joined. What do you do after third takbir?
I mean,
Now, what do you? Yeah,
to the third takbir.
is the dua, right? After the first is Fatiha, second is salams, third is dua. So the Imam said Allahu Akbar for the third one, and you join. So you say Allahu Akbar. What do you recite? You recite the dua. So you're with his third takbir, right? Then the Imam says Allahu Akbar, which will be your second takbir, right? It's your fourth in terms of what you're supposed to recite, but overall it's your second takbir. So you say Allahu Akbar, he gives us salams. How many takbirs do you have left? 2 in total. So you say Allahu Akbar one more time. Now what do you recite? Fatiha. You recite Fatiha. This will be your first takbir now. Then you say Allahu Akbar one more time, right? How many takbir has it been for you? This is the fourth one. What do you recite? Oh, you didn't send salams. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad. Then what do? You do taslim right away. Not you don't add another one because that will be 5 takbirs. So you can't have 5 takbirs. You will only have to do 4 takbirs. Is that clear?
Question.
Yeah.
How would you know? Say you walk into the masjid, you don't know what takbir the imam is on.
Think a little bit more.
Dang, it's gonna be like that.
Well, you know how many he says after you got there.
That's true. But while I'm there, I just showed up to what I'm getting at. Just showed up. I don't know what. It's different.
You don't know what you should be saying.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point.
I know after the fact, but
Yeah.
once there,
You can take the other opinion, which is this will be your first takbir. So you recite Fatiha. So when he does second takbir, you you send your salams while he might give salams. If he does salams, then you do your takbir and continue.
Just to clarify, Sheikh, these are all they're arkan, they are not like that.
There are arkan. So this left part is arkan. Right part is sunnahs.
is there a specific time to pray janazah?
As soon as possible. As soon as possible. You should not delay the janazah.
I was gonna ask more specific. Is there end of time to pray?
As soon as possible. As soon as possible. Yes. That was the first thing. Second thing I want to talk about is if you miss janazah, what do you do? No, if you miss the janazah prayer at the masjid, they prayed janazah and they took the body, and you didn't pray janazah, what do you do? Let's explain. There are 2 scenarios. Either the body is in front of you, meaning you're in the same city. You can go to the graveyard and pray in the graveyard over the janazah, because you need to pray on the body. You cannot just pray besides the body. So you go to the graveyard and you pray on the janazah over there. And many of times, they will say before they kind of completely bury the body, has anyone not prayed janazah? And anyone would like to pray janazah who missed out, they'll come and they pray their own janazah.
Before the body's buried.
Even after the body's buried, you can do it. Yeah. The second is if the body is not in your city. Let's say you had a relative in another city, your parent, a close friend or family member, and you could not make it on time to get to their janazah. You can pray janazah from far away. You can pray janazah from far away, but you only have 1 month to pray for that janazah. After 1 month, that option expires, right? Because the Prophet ﷺ prayed on Najashi, the king of Abyssinia or the king of Habasha, and he prayed after a month because the news got to him after a month that he had passed away. The Prophet ﷺ prayed over there after a month. So the scholars say the default is that you pray on time, and the Prophet ﷺ only prayed after a month, so that's the limit we will give. And a person can pray far away from the body
Only if you can't get to.
if you can't. Yeah. So let's say you're in Houston and there's a janazah in Houston, and like I'm not gonna go to the masjid, I'll just pray at home. No, doesn't work like that. You got to go to the body and pray on the body, right? Okay.
What if you like have the, like you could, go to the wherever the janazah is, like realistically? Like you were rich or something and you had a, like, it was like maybe the next day and you could get there within
Yeah.
that day.
I don't know. Good question. Good question.
You can.
What
They say you go for it, but if he doesn't, can you pray from far away?
Ah,
Yeah, that was your question.
no, I think
That's
that
a
was
good
just asking what I was.
I mean, you should go, obviously.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but so I guess I'll ask that then, if you could go,
Yeah.
like if I had like $1 billion, I can go anywhere.
Yeah.
And I could reach
Yeah,
the destination before they pay the janazah,
Yeah,
but I
then-
just decided to do it at home.
Are you saying are you
I choose not to go.
and then are you asking then can you pray at home?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I thought you could ask.
Initially, I was asking what I answered. But
Oh,
that's
okay.
a good question.
Okay. You should go. You should try your best to make it. If you don't go, when you are able to make it and travel for that purpose, I don't know. Yes, Selma.
Are these the only two options for like praying the janazah prayer? We miss it,
Yeah. What other option can we have?
saying all the du'as without praying?
That's not the prayer, right? Then that's just a dua. You can do that regardless.
What about for the people that are physically unable to go to the masjid, or for like go to the graveyard or go to the masjid? Like, can they can pray from home?
I don't think so, but I don't know.
No. So like, even if they're in the same city, but let's say they're paralyzed, like,
I don't know. The two good questions. Any other questions? Yes.
And you as a woman hear about it or read it, is it wajib on you to go?
On a woman, it's not wajib. It's a sunnah for them if they want to go pray. On men, it's wajib. It's only wajib for 3 people to go to pray janazah.
Family?
No, anyone, any 3 Muslim men, any 3 Muslim adult men, they are supposed to go who are in the community.
That's the communal obligation.
That's a communal obligation. 3 people.
does it have to be residents for that number, like that three to be?
Good question. We have 3 questions. Can you put in the group? I know I usually forget to answer the questions, but this time I won't. I'll try my best. It's a communal obligation. Yes.
Yeah, so I was so.
Do you know the 3 questions? The first question is his question. Do you need to travel if you can travel? The second was the sister's question, which was no, the second was your question. If you're paralyzed and you can't go,
Oh, for the person.
and
unable.
third, do they have to be residents? Or do the true travelers make up for that? I think travelers should make up for that. But I'll confirm. Yes, man.
But I know in Houston sometimes, like, there'll be someone who's Muslim or at least Muslim name, family overseas and they'll die. So usually, also when they find the body of anyone with Arabic sounding name, they'll call ISGH. So, like, do we need to confirm that this person is Muslim?
I mean, if there's a sign that there's a Muslim, like a Muslim name is a sign.
But okay, let's say someone from a Muslim majority country, almost every Muslim country is 10-15% non-Muslims. And they don't have the necessarily, like, let's say the Egyptian guy, his name's Gamal,
Mm.
the Egyptian Christian.
Yeah, true.
And he never came to the mosque, no one knows. this
Okay.
guy.
You'd rather make a mistake on praying on a Christian
Yeah.
than to make a mistake by not praying on a Muslim.
So I know recently in the fatigue group, they were talking about this issue.
Yeah.
It's one of the three groups, right? No, I'm only in 3 groups or
That's what I'm
so.
saying.
Any other questions online, brothers? All right. Inshallah, see you guys next week. Next week, inshallah, we'll finish the chapter of prayer. Inshallah.
That's it, right?
Yeah, next week we're covering the a quick rundown of this the sunnahs, and then we'll do the mistakes while praying. It's very, very technical and slightly confusing, but so make sure you have coffee before you come.
No questions from me. Jesus.